There are many tales of the Spartan general, but very few that can recount the legends firsthand. Kratos, a name that reverberates throughout the fabric of all the 9 realms. A man, a monster, a god of war. He seeks to alter his destiny by venturing to Valhalla. But Valhalla is not so easily bought. In return, Kratos must face his inner darkness in hopes to find redemption and finally alter his path in the depths of Valhalla. Kratos without abandon slices, slashes, and sears his way through the tormented echoes of his mind, decimating anything that stands in his wake in order to seek the truth. But pure rage and fury can only get you so far. No matter his might, no matter his resilience, Kratos must die and die again if he is to master Valhalla and master thyself.
Hi, my name is Inel and welcome to my Gamification channel. Before we dive in, some transparency. PlayStation UK provided me with a physical copy of God of War Ragnarok, the Jotnar edition. PlayStation has had no say in regards to the content within this review of Valhalla. They are watching this at the same time as you. The Valhalla DLC picks up where Ragnarok finished. I won't be spoiling the story here, but there may be small references to events and characters that unfolded in the main Ragnarok campaign that may be considered minor spoilers. If you're cool with that, let's jump into Valhalla. Valhalla is the surprise downloadable content for last year's sublime God of War Ragnarok. It's a roguelike epilogue, a love letter to the character of Kratos, and a free digital download for PS4 and 5 players who own Ragnarok. For me, God of War Ragnarok was one of the best games to release in 2022. Santa Monica Studio produced an insanely polished, well-written graphical masterpiece that is not only thought-provoking, but emphasizes why I feel video games as a medium is the best storytelling device out there. To say I felt fulfilled by Ragnarok is, well, it's an understatement. Yet, like many of the fans at the conclusion of Ragnarok, I too theorized about the many directions Santa Monica Studio could go in next in the series. Kratos still had more to do, Atreus had grown to become his own character, and many more mythical lands could be explored with this developer's astounding artistic eye. But as 2023 went on, we simply heard nothing from the studio, and as the year graced us with hit after hit from other developers, I was blindsided by the surprise reveal at the Game Awards 2023. Kratos was back, and with unfinished business. Kratos and Mimir's new adventure starts out sometime after the concluding events of Ragnarok. Our protagonists manage to discover Valhalla's whereabouts after receiving a mysterious invitation from an anonymous sender. Even Kratos gets weird letters in the post. Who had invited them? The aftermath of Ragnarok has left the relationships between the many realms shattered. A council amongst the realm's leaders is established in order to mend the fractured relationships. Freya presents Kratos with a role to help restore order, balance, and peace. The role of God of War. A role that Kratos has already held before in Greece. His reluctance to take up this mantle conjures up memories of Kratos' past, the death and destruction of the Greek gods, and the loss of his first wife and daughter. In Ragnarok, one of the major themes of the main campaign was learning to let go, and learning to be comfortable with not being in control. Here in Valhalla, Kratos must come to terms with his past, his full past, if he is to rediscover himself and choose to become the god that all the realm needs. The Valhalla DLC takes the form of a roguelike, a genre of game that has gained notability in recent times. Similar to games such as Hades, Kratos has one shot to traverse the many combat arenas Valhalla places in front of him. On initial entry, Kratos forces his way into Valhalla, causing it to punish him and strip Kratos of all his moves, perks and buffs that were acquired throughout the main campaign.
Back to basics, friend.
Something is wrong. I feel weaker.
Valhalla may not appreciate our breaking in.
Players now have to become reacquainted with the combat and reintroduced to the now evolved mechanics from the ground up. Each combat arena accessed via doors is represented by fragments of the many realms Kratos has visited. These areas are occupied by randomized enemies, and upon completion, Kratos is rewarded with a chest, the contents of which are determined by the crest of the door in which he entered. They can range from stat boosts, new weapon skills, or glyphs that augment your playstyle and help Kratos regain his skills from his shattered memories. The aim is to venture through these many realms, empowering Kratos to take out a series of bosses which await you after every milestone. If successful, Kratos can unlock Valhalla's mysteries and allow him to travel further within its depths. Upon death, Kratos starts back at the beginning of the shores of Valhalla, using any powers and perks discovered during the last run. Knowing that death can restart a run right from the start pressures you into being more strategic with your combat approach. You begin to separate enemies in big packs by using the terrain to your advantage. As the numbers of enemies rise, you begin to adapt to each situation Valhalla throws at you. Without a companion to aid you this time in combat, becoming a tactician is a must, especially if you're playing on one of the more harsher difficulty settings. Death is expected unless you adapt. This broadens out the already fantastic combat system of God of War to become a lot more strategic than it ever was in the main campaign. It doesn't completely change the feel of the game, but you are a lot more conscious of your battlefield prowess than you ever needed to be previously. I personally found myself varying up my shield types way more than I ever did during my 30 hours in the main story campaign. I don't think I ever tried the Stonewall or Shatter Star shield types previously, but in Valhalla, these two were indispensable when becoming overwhelmed. And overwhelmed you will be. Luckily, glyphs can be discovered inside of chests. These glyphs can be stacked, and many of which complement one another, compounding your damage and defensive outputs, rewarding tactical play. These glyphs can increase your base stats such as Kratos' health, his strength, cooldown times, and even his luck potential. They can also contain runic attacks for your various weapons, as well as situational perks that can assist you provided the prerequisites are met. With each glyph obtained, Kratos' potential increases, but also your risk of death. The further you get into Valhalla, the more difficult the challenge, making it all the more painful when you do eventually die. That unique combination of perks and powers are lost to time and may never come around again, forcing you once again to adapt to your circumstances.
Oh, what happened that time?
Valhalla rewards those who show a variety in their moves and tactics. It's not simply about rushing through rooms killing everyone using the same moves. It is about mastering a range of different approaches to each situation. Santa Monica Studio achieves this through the mastery tasks, an achievement system in which Kratos is rewarded mastery points for successful completion of a variety of tasks. These mastery points can be then used back at the shore where Kratos can barter with Valhalla by offsetting the challenge by permanently boosting his starting stats and skills, and even unlocking cosmetic costumes. This is Valhalla's wish, not simply defeating enemies, but mastering combat, and therefore mastering thyself. The roguelike system forces you to engage with your build of Kratos far more than the main game ever did. To become successful, you will find yourself mulling over stat screens and contemplating which perks to choose out of each chest. This game expects you to perish many times to progress. In comparison, both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok could be tackled without having to fully engage with the RPG mechanics. Is the stat number green? Well, that must be better than stat number red. Equip that. At the beginning of each run, Kratos has a set of decisions to make before he can successfully venture through Valhalla. Your chosen loadout will influence subsequent chest rewards, incentivizing you to try different tactics each time to gain more mastery. A small gripe I did find throughout my journey with Valhalla was the in-game icons for each of the different doors, chests, stats and currency. Although they all have their own in-world meanings behind them, with all icons being the same color, they aren't immediately recognizable to what exactly they represent game mechanics-wise. Some of the items even share the same icons, which can be confusing at a glance to what they actually are without reading into it. It's not a huge deal, but I won't lie, it took me several hours before I finally recognized these symbols and what they meant. It just feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity, especially as God of War is renowned for its plethora of amazing accessibility options. It's a shame different stat buffs aren't associated with a particular color, so at a glance, you know exactly what color affects which stat. Being a toggleable option would have been a nice addition for those looking for a little bit of assistance in getting to grips with this downloadable content. One thing to note that continues forward from the main series is the incredible sound design. The immensely crunchy sound effects from ground-shaking trolls to the screams of exploding wretches. Each sound has so much weight behind it. Particularly the Foley design is some of the best I've heard in a video game. Huge props to Joanna Fang and the rest of the sound department. You can truly hear the distinct textures with each material as blades collide with fabrics and flesh. If there was ever a game that shows off why titles such as this should be experienced in surround sound 3D audio, well, it's this game.
Lads showing up.
Gory viscera sounds.
Kratos is constantly outnumbered by powerful foes. Each enemy telegraphs their attacks, and using these audio cues is key to surviving these devastating waves and immerses you further into the combat experience. I think this is Santa Monica Studios' speciality: immersion. Whether it's the incredible graphics, the astounding soundtrack by McCreary, the award-winning performances from the actors, the production is covered head to toe in high-quality polish with not a bug or glitch in sight. Most importantly is the engrossing story they managed to craft. The themes Santa Monica Studio explores are very real, very human ones that complement the gameplay. Valhalla is Kratos' own gauntlet of challenges, one that is metaphorically reminiscent of many of the challenges we all face in our own lives. To seek the truth and the answers we deserve, we have to change. We must persevere through uncomfortability, deal with challenges in the moment, and adapt to the ever-changing world around us. We'll face many bosses along the way to test our resolve, but ultimately, in the end, if we persevere, our courage is rewarded. It may not always be the reward we craved, but it is the one fitting to the journey we undertook and the change we underwent to achieve it. Again, this is why I love video games. Kratos' story is all the more impactful as we control the god of war. Santa Monica manages to humanize a god, and you begin to empathize with his plight. This DLC simply could have been a boss rush mode with some added details, but Valhalla is more than that. The roguelike genre fits God of War far better than I expected. It is a reminder of everything we've been through, Vahalla is almost a metaphor for Kratos' journey to become a benevolent god. He no longer is the god of war of old. Kratos has acknowledged his past. It has shaped him, but Ragnarok has defined him and helped lay out a path for a new potential to arise, one that is not defined by his past endeavors. Valhalla is an enjoyable love letter to come back to a year later. Reinstalling Ragnarok had me excited to dive back into the Nine Realms once again. If you have God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla is a fantastic excuse to embody the flawed god once more. I hope free DLC campaigns such as this become a trend amongst AAA titles, but above all, I can't wait to see what Santa Monica Studio gets up to next. I've been Inel, and thank you very much for watching this review. This surprise DLC came along exactly at the right time for me, and is a fitting end to a fantastic saga for Kratos. What were your fondest moments of this series? Also, who were your favourite characters in the God of War series, and why? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new around here, welcome, and thanks very much for staying to the end. I tried to bring creative reviews like this one to the Gamification channel where I can. So, to ensure you'll be informed when I drop another one, click that subscribe button. The community around here are really cool, and we'd love to have you join us. Until next time, I've been Inel. Thank you for watching.